Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another advisors webinar, Surviving the Pandemics. Tonight, I'd like to welcome my friend, Mohammed Hammad. Can you please turn on your camera and audio so that we can start?
Yes, good evening, Dr. Saadi.
Good evening, how are you, my dear? You are joining us tonight from Al Khobar?
Bahrain, I'm working from Bahrain at the moment.
Okay, so I'm your neighbor tonight because I'm doing this from Al Jubail.
Okay.
Okay. So, first of all, I'd like to welcome our audience. I'd like to welcome our guest speaker. I'm going to introduce you in a bit. But before, I'd like to thank some of our partners, Global Downstream Association. Global Downstream Association is a non-for-profit organization focused on spreading knowledge in the oil and gas sector and beyond. And I'm very happy because I have lately joined GDA and their technical committee in project management, where Mohammed Hammad has been there for a long period of time. I'd like to thank our friends at PMI-KSA chapter for two reasons. The first is that Mohammed Hammad is also one of the board at PMI-KSA. He was in the previous board and now he's back on the new board to support the mission of PMI-KSA in spreading knowledge and networking, certifications and whatnot. Actually, I and Muhammad, I had the privilege to work together on several very amazing and interesting events in Al Khobar and in Jeddah. I met him back, I think, in 2013, Bahrain, with the previous PMI agency.
Met in Riyadh, Riyadh 2018, the first time.
Yes, but before that, I saw you when you were presenting Sator, because back then, Mohammed Hammad was a manager in Aramco and he was responsible for the Sator refinery. And back then, I attended an amazing keynote speech where he was speaking about interface management and the great role for interface management that led to a giga project, I believe $9.5 billion with over 10 contractors that finished on budget, on time, on quality. And your motto was one team, one project, one team, which is not easy at all when you have that much contractors. Then we collaborated on several events. Yes, we met in Riyadh, in Jeddah, in Al Khobar, and working with you, my friend, is a joy and pleasure because we have the same concern for spreading knowledge, for networking. It's something that gives us great pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Likewise.
Thank you very much. Also, I'd like to thank our partner, Kuwait Project Management Society, and thank Jacob Zait because Mohammed Hammad is also director in Saudi Arabia executive director for Saudi Arabia. Now, having said that, also before I give you the lead, I'd like to congratulate PMI, KSA, congratulate Aramco, congratulate all our friends, because Badr Burshed is the PMI president for PMI KSA. He is also the leader for PMOD, Project Management Office Department at Aramco. He was selected this year as the leader for the PMO Global Award. And this gives us great joy and pride. So congratulations, our friend Badr Burshed, for something like this. We are very happy that one of us, won this amazing award. So, having said that, now the ball is in your court. I'm gonna give you the lead, my friend. So please start.
اوكي، نقول بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله محمد بن عبد الله أشرف الخلق وسيد المرسلين. Thank you, Dr. Saadi, for this opportunity. It's a pleasure being working with you for a couple of years now. I've always enjoyed working with you and advisors. I thank advisors for giving me the platform to talk about interface management. First of all, I want to say I'm here representing myself and also representing PMI KSA Saudi chapter and GDA as well. We are all collaborating in spreading the knowledge of project management and helping our young youth to further their careers. هدفنا إنه نطور شباب المهنة وشابات المهنة يتعلموا معنا أكثر وننقل خبرتنا ومعرفتنا للجميع. I want to second you for congratulating Badr Burshid. Really, it's an amazing achievement for us in Saudi that a young Saudi project management leader like Badr Burshid gets the award of PMO Leader of the Year in 2020. فمبروك بدر، مبروك للسعودية، مبروك للشابتر كلها. البرزنتيشن حنتكلم اليوم عن الانترفيس مانجمنت and which is a very integral part of project management. نسميها، خلونا انا اسميها التداخلات بين المقاولين والفندرز اللي بيشتغلوا على مشروع واحد، وكيف ممكن يكون كايوس اذا لم نحسن ادارته وتصميمه، وهو حقيقة جزء مهم جدا من اي ادارة اي مشروع. نقطة أخيرة قبل لا أبدأ، السلايدز تشوفوها is in a different format from what we are all used to. And after I drafted it, I gave it to my young daughter, Sufana Hammad, who she is now finishing her bachelor degree in communication and information system with journalism major. وهي أضافت عليها this new look. She has her own new look of the generation Z or the millennials. And this is a change. Any leadership and any management need to cater to the new younger generation who likes to see things differently and more directly. ولذلك لابد نطور لغتنا وحوارنا وأدواتنا حتى نحسن التخاطب والتعامل مع the young generation that is coming up. Okay, so we're starting now. The difference between chaos and organized. تبغى يكون في فوضى وطبعا بالتالي تأخير ومشاكل، ولا تبغى التداخلات تكون منظمة وتحسن التقدير. الصورة هذه يمكن تفتكروها نكتة. This is a joke. Look at the joke. This is even in a single train line they couldn't meet up. Well, ما هي نكتة، ما هي نكتة، واقع. شوف الصورة تبين لك إنه هذه مهندسين وشركات، والعجيب إنه الفرق مجرد سنتيمترات قصيرة، ولكن هذه السنتيمترات القصيرة القليلة عفوا is going to stop the project. Only for a few centimeters the job will stop because somebody did not manage that interface point correctly. وهذه هي الفوضى والتدخلات اللي حنتكلم عنها اليوم. Next. This is the chaos, how it looks. 2 or 3 contractors talking to each other in non-organized way, and everybody is not really communicating to the other, and somebody is not communicating to anybody. Versus the organized. You are the project leader at the top، وتحتك لابد يكون في interface management team. لابد انك تخصص resources، فريق عمل لإدارة التداخلات من عندك ومن عند المقاولين، وبالتالي تقدروا تشرفوا على عملية التداخلات بين المقاولين. You need to have your own interface management team, and each contractor working with you should have his own interface management team. So it's all one organization, one organized structure managing the interface between all these contractors. and this is an interface register. هذا يعني مجرد sample. It's just an Excel sheet لكن a very important starting point you to manage your interface. هذا هي بداية العمل المنظم ضد الفوضى. وهنتكلم عنها أكثر a little bit more. We will explain a little more about the interface register. So let's define the interface, project interface management. It's a point between two entities or multiple entities. ممكن 2 4 5 10 مقاولين في نفس المشروع. يعني زي ما قال الدكتور سعدي آخر مشروع لي في أرامكو بصفات ساتر. And we had 13 contractors. 13 contractors designing and building and starting up the same refinery together. How to manage that if you don't have the right tools, the right organization, and the rigorous control and managing it. وأنواع الانترفيس يعني ممكن يكون الانترفيس physical, face to face, pipe, electrical, whatever it is, or functional between an electrical system and a DCS system. محطة الكهرباء وأجهزة التحكم. وطبعا في عقود بتحكم الموضوع هذا بينهم. ممكن أي مشروع بيكون فيه أكثر من مقاول 4 أو 5 أو 10. كل ما كبر حجم المشروع كل ما زاد عدد المقاولين اللي بيكونوا متداخلين في نفس المشروع. ولا بد أن تكون بينهم نقاط تداخل. في نوعين من الانترفيس. internal interface and an external interface. Yes, doctor. Okay, so we have a poll now that's going to talk about poll number 1. Which type of interface is more difficult to control? internal or external؟ أيهم أصعب؟ الانترفيس بوينت الداخلية بين مجموعة المقاولين اللي في نفس المشروع أو لا الانترفيس الخارجية؟ خارجية ممكن تكون شركة الكهرباء، شركة المياه، المرافق وبعض الجهات الخارجية اللي تتعامل معها. So we're running a poll right now and we'll try to see which your opinions and thought on which one you think is more important. Okay, so far it's external are winning, internal are less. Okay, كأنها ترامب وبايدن الآن. بدنا نشوف who's winning.
So it's stabilized.
Okay, so 82% said it is external. I guess in their perspective, it is more difficult to manage the outside entities because they are not a contractor working for you. Yes, and that's true. And that's why for external, you really need long-term agreements معاهم من قبل المشروع بسنة وبسنتين. تروح لشركة الكهرباء وشركة مرافق والمياه وتتفق معاهم. To make sure إنه this is agreement واضحة من البداية. وبعدين كمان manage الانترفيس بوينت. لكن يعني هو ما يعتمد على تجربة مشروع لمشروع. الانترنال انترفيس is more. لا تداخلات أكثر، آلاف الانترفيس داخل المشروع الواحد. الخارجية لا بتكون أقل عدد لكنها طبعا مهمة جدا فيها. طيب خلينا نرجع للسلايد شو. اوكي التعريف هنا ان الانترنال is among the same contractors وفي الخارج نو. ذكرنا هنا المثال سكيكو شركة الكهرباء السعودية، الكتريكال كومباني سعودي، مرافق يوتيليتيز كومباني in جوبيل، البلدية municipalities, national water. This is an example of the external. And I really want to stop here for a minute. لأنه when we built Saturn refinery in 2014, the job was completed. It was built on the Royal Commission plot. And I want to quote the French. It was a joint venture project between us and Total. They were amazed how really the infrastructure provided by Royal Commission, the utilities from the electrical company, Skiko, Marafiq, and the others were perfect. and we had no issues with them. We had all of our utilities, our power, our requirement ahead of time. There was never a problem with them. So hats off حقيقة الرويال كوميشن ومرافق وسكيكو, perfect support for industrial projects. هذا الفرق بين الانترنال والاكسترنال. Now another poll. إدارة, who should manage the project interface? Is it the project team, the owner's team? ولا we delegate it down to a PMC, project management consultancy? And no, the contractors are mature enough, they are professional enough to manage it and will agree eventually. مين لازم يمسك إدارة الانترفيس والتدخلات؟ فريق الاونر المالك، فريق الشركة، ولا البي ام سي اللي معاهم، ولا لا يا أخي هذول مقاولين كبار ومحترفين وخلوهم يديروا هذه الاختلافات بنفسهم. هنشوف البول. اوكي، يبدو انه في تنافس قوي ما بين الاونرز تيم والبي ام سي.
Okay, it's stabilized now.
Okay, so 54% says it should be the owner's team and 40% says PMC. And I'm glad that only 4 of them said yes, the contractor will agree. No, contractors will never come to agreement easily because there's usually money and schedule impact involved. I would recommend its owner team. That's been our philosophy in Saudi Aramco. We will manage this. PMCs, you may need them, they may support you, they become really the resources pool, يكونوا هم الفريق اللي معاك اللي بيساعدك، لكن لابد إدارة مباشرة من الأونرز تيم في هذا الموضوع. وهنتكلم كمان شوية أكثر ليش أنا بقول إنه لابد أفضل إنه يكون الأونرز تيم. خلينا نتكلم عن قواعد عامة. We'll talk about some general rules of the project interface management. Okay, سفانا حبت إنها تبدأ owner responsibility at the bottom. I don't know why, but okay, we'll accept it. It's owner responsibility, make it contractual. It starts at the engineering phase. Plan and standardize. And keep talking. These are the general rules, and I will explain each one individually in the next slide. It's owner responsibility. This is my position on this. It should be the owner responsibility. أنت فريق العمل من المالك هو المسؤول عن هذا الموضوع. Don't delegate it down. ليش؟ لأنها من جهتين، سببين في رأيي أنا. أولاً أنت قائد الأوركسترا. أنت قائد الأوركسترا. You're gonna tell this to sing at this time. You're gonna tell this to drum at this time. أنت اللي حتقود الفريق وتخلي كل مقاول يتحرك هناك. لأنه مقاول لمقاول ما حيتكلموا وما حيسمع البعض بهدوء. ثانياً أنت القاضي. حتكون في نقاط التقاء وتغييرات فيها فلوس. ولا بد قرار. You're gonna be the decision maker. When an interface point going to change, you're going to have to step in and decide who's going to change and who's going to pay for the cost of the change. That's why you need an owner team in the middle of this. And you as a project team, on a project team, you need to be fair and reasonable and decisive. Very important that you make the decisions quickly enough for the job to keep going. إذا حنضيع وقت في روح وتعال ومين غلطان ومين مو غلطان، هذه أكبر خطأ. أنت كقائد، أنا نكتة عن القيادة، أنت قائد التيم، غلطة أي فرد في فريقك غلطتك أنت تتحملها وخليه تحمي مجموعتك. If you are the kind of leader who gonna back up when problem comes and you try to finger point a contractor or one of your project manager, then believe me, you're going to be a failure. You're not going to be a leader. A leader will have to step in and say, okay, let's see how we fix it. unless it's an ethical issue فساد ورشوة هذا موضوع ثاني. لكن إذا technical problems, in our world of projects, your main job is to fix problems. It's not going to be easy. All you have to do is just keep making decisions and move on. And that's why it is the owner's responsibility. Secondly, make it contractual. Then there are costs involved of dedicating resources. There could be a lot of travel. There could be some changes that are required. And responsibility. There are obligations on contractor to deliver a certain design at a certain time. So if it's not contractual, you're going to have a hard time enforcing it. بدون ما تكون مكتوبة في العقد بوضوح. يكون في section كامل للcontractual requirement of interface management. المقاول يقول لك مو في العقد. وهذه فيها مصاريف كذا كذا. فلا بد انك انت تكون من اول يوم في العقد الموجود. We have another poll, number 3. What's the most important criteria to decide? Number of packages in a project. يعني في كل مشروع you're going to have to decide how many packages. 3, 5, 10. What are the criteria to decide? القيمة, the value, the speciality, التخصص, أو geographic area. هنقسم المشروع على 15 مقاولين أو أقل أو أكثر. كيف حنقيم؟ التكلفة قيمة كل باكج ولا تخصص كل مقاول ولا المنطقة الجغرافية؟ فادوني رأيكم لو سمحت. Okay, 57 looks like, hi doctor. Stabilizing. اوكي مين تفتكروا مين الكرايتيريا الاهم اللي ارائكم قالت عليهم؟ So 61% said it's speciality. 61% التخصص. 27% قالوا القيمة و11% قالوا الجيوغرافيكال اريا. 11% for geographic. So let me explain. Let's not debate who's right and who's wrong. لأنه there is more than one way to skin the cat, as they say. أنا هحاول إني أشرحها بطريقة تفصيلية شوية ممكن تساعدنا، لكن قاعدة واحدة مهمة: never put all of your eggs in one basket. لا تضع كل البيض في سلة واحدة زي ما بيقولوا. لما يكون مشروع قيمته كبيرة، نتكلم على 5 and 10 billion dollars، مليارات الريالات أو أكثر، would you give it to one contractor وتقول أنا أخلص نفسي؟ I want to get rid of that headache. Let him manage all these interfaces. I don't want to manage this. I bring a consortium and let them manage all of this. Or no, I'm going to cut it into different packages and manage that, each contractors, and manage the interface between them. To me, when you say that I'm going to give it to one contractor, there's 2 mistakes here. Number 1, the cost, and number 2, the risk. Then when it's such a big value contract, multi-billion dollar to one contractor, there is a lot of risk for him. And he's going to put contingency, 15 and 20% contingency in his bid to you. Because he knows material prices will change, problems will happen, delays will happen, and he wants to protect himself and also his financial burden on the job. And secondly, it's a high risk to put all of your project with one entity. Never put your project in one entity, otherwise you're asking for failure. That's my knowledge and experience. And I'm going to try to explain it a little more to you how to cut a project. And I choose a simple example. And this is like an urban development. How would you cut it? Okay, and we'll try to make it simple. 4 pieces. نقطع المشروع الآن إلى 4 تقاطعات. So you can see we cut it. Number 1. Sorry. I want to go back. Let me go back. So You can see we cut it into simple 4 pieces. Of course, it's never like this. You never cut it square. It's always zigzagging. Like between this contractor, I hope you can see the cursor, between contractor A and contractor B, for example. There is a lot of interfaces along the line here. This red dotted line, you're going to see the roads, the electrical network, the water lines, or the instrumentation, or the IT, the infrastructure, and the same here and the same here. داخل هذا الموقع احنا جزأناه هنا للتبسيط إلى 4 أجزاء، لكن بين المقاولين مقاول ألف وباء في عشرات النقاط من التقاطع. ممكن داخل المشروع الواحد حيصل عندك إلى آلاف نقاط الانترفيس: electrical, mechanical, piping, instrumentation, IT, and everything more. And that's one way of you cutting it. So to me, yes, you look at the speciality. Each contractor may be specializing في موضوع مثلا الحدائق أو الانفراستراكشر. What is happening here? Looks like I'm losing my. It's drafting on the board. Okay, sorry. I thought somebody was playing. لكن أكبر محرك عندي أنا شخصياً الفاليو. هذا value. You need to look at the contractors, the size of projects he has been able to handle, 1 or 2 billion. Okay, you give him 2.5, you give him 1.5, you stretch him to 3 billion, but you don't give him a $10 billion while his last 2 jobs were 2 to 3 billion. مقاول آخر مجموعة مشاريع كانت في حدود 200 و 300 مليون دولار، وأنت تيجي تقول له لا أنا حتى أريح نفسي أعطي له مشروع ب $1 billion. You're asking for trouble. كده أنت حقيقة بتعرض مشروعك لمخاطرة كبيرة. فلا بد أنك توزع على حسب قدرات وخبرة كل مقاول. التخصص نعم، بعضهم بيكون متخصص وبعضهم بيكون لا عنده أكثر من خبرة. This is another way of breaking down a package, but this is more in the hydrocarbon side. So this is an FPSO, floating production storage. So here you describe the different elements of the project and which contractor will do what. Contractor 1, 2, 3. Here they made it that way. The installation is by a totally different contractor 8 and the commissioning by contractor 9. And this is really a different setup. This is in the offshore business. In the onshore, no. Installation is construction and the commissioning and startup is part of the same contractor who has built it. أنا ما أفهم أبداً إنه مقاول يبني ويركب ويجي واحد ثاني يركب ويجي يشغل. This doesn't always work in the offshore work, in the onshore work. آخر استفتاء عندنا اليوم, the last poll, how often you use the interface register and templates. So let's see project managers who have been applying the rules. هل تستخدم الانترفيس ريجستر قائمة نقاط التداخل بين المقاولين؟ never ولا مرة ولا شوية ولا عادة أو لا دائما كثير تستخدمها أو دائما. Let's see the poll on this. So I don't know if it's stabilizing you, doctor, but I see 25% say some, 29% say frequent, and 11% says, oh, lots. Okay, 22% always. Great. I want to see always. حقيقة لابد تطبق القواعد and fix the templates. I'm going to talk about it. Don't let it be haphazard. يوم ايه ويوم لا وبين مقاول واثنين استخدمناها ثاني يوم no نسينا وانشغلنا. No, it has to be a consistent application of interface management. So how do you start? Now, number one is the register. This is your starting point, and you will drill it down into the specific pipeline size from 2-inch, 4-inch to 6 to 18 to 20 to 60-inch, and to the electrical cable, to the instrumentation cable. لابد تفصلها في مرحلة التصاميم. And you're going to have آلاف النقاط، عندك آلاف النقاط حتكون بين المقاولين هذه. حتى الأسفلت, a road between two contractors, it has to be specified because things will shift. And you know that interface point, as you progress في front end engineering, as a proposal, وبعدين في detail engineering, things will change. And even during construction, some of the interface point will change. The pressure بيزيد, الفلو ريت بتزيد, الكهرباء ترتفع, المستوى الطريق بيتغير, كمية الاي تي انفراستراكشر مطلوبة بتزيد. ولا بد يكون عندك هنا this is your register. انت this is your يعني الريجستر مسؤوليتك انت. فيها audit trail, اخر التواصل في طلب التغيير, وفيها كل الدوكيومنتيشن والدراونجز that explain where is this interface point. This is the core document to manage any interface of a project correctly. ونتكلم الآن عن البروسيس, how to do it. This is a template, of an example. At the bottom, you're going to see them different contractors. DS, this is just a name for them. And then you can see the diagram of this pipeline going from onshore to subsea has multiple interface points. And here you're specifying each one of them and saying who's responsible for what. This is also a structure of an interface point, one of the definitions. And you have to have these templates are available in project management documentation easily. So what is the process when there is a change in the interface point? خلال المشروع تغيرت عليك نقاط التداخل هذه. خلينا نشرح كيف نتحكم فيها. الكونتراكتور A تغير عنده الكهرباء, no, he needs a bigger cable, higher voltage, or no, the flow rate has increased, whatever has changed. So he will issue an interface request. Or maybe even a new interface point came altogether. ما كانت في الحسبان وظهرت, fine. He gives it to the owner PMT على الباكج هذه. تحت طبعا في مجموعة إدارة مركزية للمشروع, لكن for each package there is a PMT assigned to it. You have to have a PMT for each package. And that PMT is the one responsible to say, yes, I agree this is a change required, or yes, this is a new interface point that is required. And then you send it back to the central control team, technical team that says, yeah, okay, we understand why this change is happening from package A. We do to a change in the pressure or flow rate, fine, okay, but it's going to affect contractor B, contractor C, and D, and whoever. The change in pressure could be, it's a gas line that runs through multiple packages, then okay. We have to tell the 3 or 5 contractors that this line going through, that they have to change the rating on the pipe, thickness, or maybe the size, or the elevation. There is going to be impact. And that's what the responsibility of the interface technical team, management team. And the other 2 contractors, you send it to directly. You don't send it directly to the contractor. You send it to the PMT and contractor B and C and others. And they study and agree, okay. And then they send it to the contractor and identify the consequences. Maybe there is a change, there's going to be money involved in it, maybe not. And then you take it back and say, okay, is this change necessary? Is it worth it? If yes, then a decision is being made, okay. And a new agreement has come, we change the pressure, we change the elevation, and we've agreed to the consequences. Okay, وافقنا إنه هذا التغيير ضروري بأسباب إحنا نعرف عنها، وبالتالي لابد نتخذ القرار ونعتمد إذا فيها change order أو طلب تغيير فلابد توافق من البداية ولا ما حيتغير. ما حيتغير المقاول، ما حيغير من عنده وياخذ التغيير بدون ما يكون هو السبب المباشر فيه. نتكلم هنا على نقطة الفيس تو فيس ميتينجز. يعني من التجارب اللي احنا كنا نسويها ايام ما كان في مجال للسفر والاجتماعات الكبيرة في عالم كورونا، الوضع متغير لكنه ممكن يكون اسهل. يعني اوكي you would spend, we will bring all the contractors into one location, okay? All the interface team and PMTs and the engineering team, technical from all the 5-10 contractors into one location, and we spend 2-3 days. We start with the general project status, and then each contractor present his package status and where we are. And then we break out into different groups. Electrical مع electrical, mechanical مع mechanical, piping and civil. And at the end of the day, we come back in a general session and see, okay, what has been agreed and what has not been agreed. في نهاية اليوم نعرف بالضبط ايش الاتفاقات اللي صارت والامور ماشيه كويس ولا لا. اكتشفنا انه في غلطات او نقاط اختلاف محتاجه لقرارات، ونعمل ثاني يوم نكمل الاجتماعات حتى نصل الى نقاط. and we'd like to decide on all the new points or changes in that meeting if you can. Sometimes you may have to go back and get some support for a decision or not, but that's the way you do it. Now, in our today's world, virtual makes it even easier for you. You don't need to travel, you don't need to spend a lot of time, but you can do it in a virtual way. And I want to talk about building a team spirit. ترى في عالم المشاريع روح الفريق مهمة. ما هي احنا في النهاية بشر، ولا بد ان احنا نخرج افضل ما في البشر، وما في زي روح الفريق هي اللي تخرج افضل ما فيهم. وانت كبروجكت دايركتور قائد الفريق هذا دورك، انك تكون القائد والاخ الاكبر للمجموعه كلها حتى يعطيك افضل ما عنده. وحتى المقاول شريك لك. Give him your best support and be fair and reasonable so he will give you the same. And build a team spirit. أنا في الصورة هذه كنت ناوي أحط صورة فريقي المفضل، لكن بنتي سفانة الله يحفظها ما وافقت. قالت لي لا، برشلونة is not doing so well this time, so I didn't put my favorite team spirit, picture of Barcelona. We'll see. However, it is really an essential point. وأنا أتذكر هنا طرفة صغيرة إذا تسمحوا لي. In one of the jobs, we met in an interface meeting for a couple of days, and at the end, we went out all for dinner to celebrate it. And I said, okay, let's have يعني نوع من الفكاهة بيننا. I asked each contractor to come and stand up and sing for us in a song in his own language. وقام الإيطالي وغنى بالإيطالي أب وبدع طبعا. وبعدين العرب، واحنا العرب نحب الغناء. وبعدين جاء الياباني، اتذكر ياباني قام يغني باليابان، واحنا قاعدين نطالع فيه طبعا مو فاهمين ولا شيء ايش بيغني. بعدين وقف نسي الكلمات، فالايطالي اللي جنبي قال له يا اخي انا ما احنا فاهمين اصلا ايش تقول، قول اي شيء مشي، ما هو فاهم معانا. فروح الدعابه هذه حلوه، لانه ناس في النهايه احنا بشر، وهذه الروح والتعامل. فيعرف محمد، يعرف علي، لما يتكلم معاه بالتليفون ويطلب منه التعاون يكون في معرفة ويكون في تعاون بينات، لأنهم في النهاية ما هي فقط عقود. النقطة الأخيرة، وخليني أقول ترى إنه موضوع الانترفيس وإدارة التدخلات في تفصيلات جزئية ممكن نتشعب فيها، لكن أعتقد إنه هذا الممكن في اليوم، ولعلنا في المستقبل نكمل أكثر. لا تفتكر إنك لأنك عملت بلان في البداية في مرحلة الانجينيرنج خلاص. No. It's a continuous communication. You have to keep managing it from day one until it finishes. And going to be changes, and you're going to have to be communicating every time an interface point change, you're going to have to send it, even if it's minor. Don't underestimate a simple interface point. You saw the example في البداية 10 سنتيمترات وقفت خط السكة الحديد. So you need to know that it's going to require continuous communication, a dedicated team, and a lot of focus from you as a project leader. لا تقول هذه شغلة PMC أو شغلة المقاول. No, he's going to need your support and intervention to manage it. I think Dr. Saadi, I'm coming to the end. Okay, sorry, I forgot. Okay, we're going to have to issue weekly status, monthly status. We talked about twice a meeting, twice a year gathering or virtual conferences as we have nowadays, just to make sure that there is continuous communications between all the parties. And that's it. And that's all, folks. Dr. Saadi, تفضل.
First of all, thank you. Very interesting topic. You made it seem simple, but I know it has all the complications in the world when you start to do it. You are muted, I think. Are you muted?
Yeah, I muted for
okay.
a second. I thought you just so there is
no worries. So actually, you made a really complex topic, which is vital, especially when you have multiple contractors working together, especially in the field of oil and gas, because at the end of the day, a big plant is one machine. When each contractor builds part of it, if one single interface does not work properly, it could lead to either stopping the whole process or to something dangerous. Maybe it runs, but it could lead to something really
yeah.
And we have some. We have some good questions, but before that, allow me please to just list some of our upcoming activities. November, then we go back to okay. Now first, we have next week, next Wednesday. We're happy to have Richard Farrow. Richard Farrow is the CEO of APMG International. APMG is an accrediting organization that provides certifications, over 60 or 70 certifications. Not like PMI or IPMA, because they don't have the knowledge like PMI or IPMA. They only focus on certification.
On what? Sorry.
And on certification. Okay, they accredit a training provider and provide certification as a third party. Okay, so he's going to speak next week with us. Then on this is on November 11 actually, which is as usual at 9 p.m. PSA time. Now on November 12, I don't know the time yet. I was invited to speak with the IPYD, the International Project Management Association of Istanbul. I'm going to speak about surviving the pandemic challenges, no clients, only partners. So I'm going to speak about our strategy and which led to having these webinars.
Nice.
And also on sorry?
Interesting subject. Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you. Then on November 17, I'm also going to speak with our partner, Kuwait Project Management Society. We are launching the collaboration. Also, the timing is not yet set. The topic will be how organization leaders can survive and recover the pandemic through adaptive portfolio management and strategy implementation. Title is whole topic. Then the week after, we will have on November 18, our partner from Tunis, Ahmed Abdel Salam, and who is also part of PMI Tunisia, how to negotiate without leverage, and he's also the owner of a company called Drina, certified provider for PMI. Then on November 21st, I was also invited by our friends in PMI Tunisia chapter to participate in their conference. I'm gonna be me and Antonio, my friend Antonio Nieto Rodriguez, about project revolution and strategy implementation. It's gonna be early in the morning on a Saturday, so 10:45 a.m. I think there's 2 hour difference between Saudi and
Yeah.
And the week after, just to list everything in November, we have also our partner in Canada, Adolfo Allegro, from Miracad. He's going to speak about a new topic, which is asset digitalization case studies within operational industrial facilities. I think this is very, very interesting. These are the people who bring the 360 cameras and start to formulate models for existing plants, okay, which integrates later on with the AI and
and your 3D model and design. Yeah.
So,
والله looks very busy month يا دكتور ما شاء الله يعطيك العافية.
Yeah, الله يعافيك. Honestly, I did not plan. We only plan for the Wednesday webinars, but they are all our friends, and we'd like to collaborate. So, having said that, let us start with. There are quite a few questions that are.
Before you start with the questions, Ajurid, and I just want to tackle one point, and maybe the time did not allow. We talked about a lot of the interface in the engineering. During construction, you're going to have changes, and you're going to have to manage it between them. And actually, one of the things we did along the dividing line between contractors, we applied an interface permit between the contractors. If you're getting close to that dividing line between the two contractors, لما بين مقاول ألف وباء وفي جاي تعمل فاونديشن ولا ستراكشر هناك على الخط، لابد بيرمت بين الاثنين، لأنه ممكن أنت with your foundation you're going to impact an infrastructure or something on his side. So he needs to be aware. So during the construction, you manage that infrastructure. And then it gets more complicated during the commissioning and startup. One contractor is ready to hydro test, the other part is not ready. Or we're going to start up the gas line. Is the other line side, on the other contractor on the other side is ready for it or not? That's we're going to have to do. It becomes even you need a commissioning support interface team on top of that because it gets more complicated. However, I don't think the time would have allowed we can go down into a lot of detail, but it does progress, unfortunately, to become more difficult again. Back to you, Doctor.
Okay. Actually, you reminded me with a project within system integration. And in system integration, we as well use those anywhere where you have more than one contractor, more than one provider, who are supposed to work together. Okay, if you do not manage the interfaces early enough, there will sure be a conflict. And each one would start to blame it on the other side. So to sum up what you've spoken about is that interface management is not something, it is something that would cause the whole project to be delayed, stopped, reworks to be done, and this would affect the feasibility and the financial aspects, especially that these mega or giga projects, they have a huge opportunity cost. And interface management has to occur in the beginning as a concept within the conceptual design and the detailed design. Then it also has to be reflected within contractual documents, because anything not reflected within contractual documents, then they will come back with claims or will not do it otherwise, and so on. And third, it has to be reflected within communication management plan.
Correct.
Manifested. And number 4, when you come to execution, you have to, we don't call it kickoff, but you need as small kickoffs whenever you have two critical interfaces, then you have to be both party and prepare for it. And last but not least, when you are doing your pre-commissioning and commissioning and testing, okay, they both have to be there, because if there was any problem, we need to identify from which side is it and try to solve it if we can on the spot. So this is like a summation of a high-level summation of what you. Thank you.
Great summary. Great summary.
Thank you. So let us start with the questions. Okay. Now Ghaffar Imtiaz, by the way, he's a doctor and researcher and practitioner. How interface risk happens between civil work and MEP works project is to be handled. If both contracts...
So you can speak a little louder for me, please.
Okay. He is asking the interface risk between civil work and MEP work in a project. How should the risk be handled if each contract was procured separately?
So you're talking about different systems that were procured differently, separately, electrical.
No. He's talking about a civil work construction provider. Then you have an MEP, okay, contractor provider. You signed a different contract with each one.
Yeah.
So how do you do the interface risk?
Through the design, because supposedly there is one design package for that includes the civil infrastructure and what I'm not sure what MPP, but MPP will come because you're building one facility. So there must be one design package that will show the civil, mechanical, electrical, whatever, into one design package, and you identify the interface point accordingly. Again, you look at the drawing, the layout, the one we said, okay, and then you start to split it accordingly. And I'm not sure I understand his example of MPP.
Now, Karen.
هو الديزاين التصميم هو الأساس لك.
Okay, now Karen Brunman, she's one of our, I believe from PMI Slovakia, if I'm not, I'm right. She, when you were talking, she gave a couple of notes. One of them, she mentioned about this is why the airport in Germany got delayed for over 10 years. The main reason was because the interfaces between the various contractors were not managed properly. Okay, so I found her note really relative and valuable. And she even uses a strategy that she makes internal stakeholders sign contracts about their responsibilities. This is managing the internal and interfacing as well.
Great. Yeah. It's relevant to the stakeholders agreements. يعني contractor, you have a contract with them. But outside entities, yes, you need agreements to establish and actually bring that agreement to a high level. So they know that this airport, for example, project is important and it has a deadline to meet. Absolutely.
Now, Mu'azz al-Gharbi, he's asking if the client, the owner, is the one responsible to manage the PIM or any other deliverable, then what is the point of hiring a PMC, expert vendor, to manage the project on his behalf?
Well, a good question, ya Mu'izz. Thank you. You need support. A PMC will give you enough technical teams under you, whether it's a mechanical, electrical, to study the interface point and manage the changes and help you make the decision. And similarly in contract administration. So the PMC have projects resources that are very useful for you. The PMT team can be less and focus on managing the contractors and the big decision making, and you let the PMC support it in the fashion I explained. لكن لا تترك له القرارات، انت في النهاية انت صاحب القرار.
Which is very important. When you delegate, you never delegate everything. Delegating or getting an external consultant to help you, okay, does not mean that you are gonna go to Hawaii and leave the project unattended. Okay, you have to be on top of things as an owner.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to be there with them every day in and out. ما في يعني اللي بيحاول يبني المشروع او يقود المشروع وهو في مثلا بلاش نقول هواي, but he's sitting in the capital city and let the job running 200 kilometers away in the desert. That's normally where projects are, away from where you live. And if you're going to try to manage it remote control from home or from your office, you're going to have a failure. You have to mobilize to the contractor office engineering and you go live on the project. The Saturn project, I spent 4 years on Jebel site, 4 years living in a construction camp, right there and then. This is what it takes, living with the project.
And one question, because I'm making a comparison between what you're saying and what our friend Ramiz Al-Habib, the other day he spoke about.
Yes,
Jeddah.
He's a great leader of projects, equally.
Yeah. So how many hours when you do the setup or initiation of a huge project or program like Saturn, how many hours per day the leader works?
Ask me how many hours he sleeps. Yeah, I mean, you start your day 7, 8 o'clock, and typically we would not leave until 5, 6 in the evening, and you go home and still working on the emails that you didn't get to. Because in the day, in the office, you work on solving problems and decision making and meeting people. You don't have time for emails. You go home and start looking at emails. That never ends.
So it's not easy to be a leader for a large program. You have to work not only smart and hard as well. And I believe this is a message to our younger brothers and sisters in our profession. Okay, it needs a lot of dedication, a lot of discipline, a lot of effort. Otherwise, giga projects do not go up and succeed. Or if they are not attended, there will be many issues and problems.
Correct, but hopefully the automation and digitalization will make life easier and work easier for all of us. And that's one area that can help.
So, a question from Munir Joudi. What is the difference between interface management and integration management as per PMI? Where is it mentioned? As presented, too many different tools and techniques should be used, differ from traditional tools and techniques.
Okay, I think integration management to me is mean, okay, like you're designing different elements. You did not design them all as one. You had different contractors, one doing the control system and one is doing the electrical system, and then you try to integrate the two. That's what he means by integration. But the better way, if I would, is no. You have one engineering team responsible for the electrical and the instrumentation system. You're designing it, integrate. Now he did it separately for whatever reason, and you try to integrate it. Basically, you change it into an interface system, in my thinking. You try to integrate the design of different aspects, mechanical, electrical, piping, whatever it is, كهرباء, موية, by integration, حولها إلى interface point and come on to decision making. I'm not sure if this answers the question. As far as these are tools, the example I used, are things we use on the project and things that you'll find available on the internet. They're not, it's not fixed. ما في book for interface management. The templates can vary. Each company has their own templates.
I believe he was trying to ask about integration management as one of the 10 knowledge areas of PMI, which is a totally different thing. That one is about integrating the whole aspects of a project. It's like the skeleton of the project. Like you start with a charter, you develop a plan, you execute, you monitor, you manage the knowledge, monitor control, manage the changes, then close. This is the integration skeleton of a project. What we're talking about of interface management is different. I believe in the PIM book, it is not very much mentioned, but on the other hand, in the standard for program management, there is a little bit of talk about interface management, okay? Because you are talking about multiple projects and operations under the program management, but it is not clear as much as you said it, because what you spoke of comes from years of actual experience. So not everything you talked about is already found in the books as you mentioned. But if we want to couple the knowledge, the communication knowledge area, the stakeholder knowledge area, but they are not enough to reflect everything you spoke about. But these things will help you.
I remember when I tried to research for this project, for this presentation about project interface and went to PMI website, there was not a lot to try to describe it, and it's not a standalone section in the PIM book. No, it's not, because it is a key element within the project management. It's not a standalone section. I had to rely on my own background and knowledge and what we've done.
I believe using a tool like a workflow would help you track the bowling court and do some bit of automation on every interface point.
Yeah. And whenever a change is happening, alerts are sent to everybody, whether it's affected or not. There has been a change, look at it, and come to a decision.
One just asked about whether or not it is used in IT as well, or only in construction of mega projects. You have an idea if they use?
Well, whenever you're using multiple contractors or vendors, you're going to need to use interface management. Simple. Is it IT or civil or whatever it is, the project? IT, okay. Then you have somebody who's doing the microwave system and another contractor is doing the fiber optic cable system. Okay, here's two. Then you need to come and manage the interface between the two. So it is applicable in any kind of project, I think.
Especially in IT, this discipline is needed within the same company. The companies like Motorola, CMMI level 5, when they write software which has millions of lines of codes, it is not written by one person or one team. It is written by multiple teams. So the way these multiple teams work together, each one within an architecture, especially if they are agile, definitely the way they interface with each other is very well defined. Now, not necessarily speaking about everything, because we spoke about tonight, because if they are in the same company, they don't need to do contracts, okay? But they need to do the agreements.
You have to come to agreement, yes, absolutely.
So,
I have more questions.
Yes, was asking about constructability. You mentioned that you divide them when you divide and look at or when why do you divide based on fund the amount, the value, or based on geography, the poll, okay? And he proposed also constructability. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree in a way. Yes, you need to look at the constructability and the axis point and saying, yes, this section from a constructability point, you need to be within to one package and to one contract. I agree. You look at that as well. But the other major factors really are the value and also the speciality. I try to make it simple stuff. Otherwise, it's... But when you say constructability, okay, then you need to look at it geographically as well. Where are the main roads coming in and out, and access to the site, this kind of issues.
Now, Nabil Ali is asking, he says, I believe that poor interface management could lead to missed scope or duplicated scope. Is my understanding correct?
Yeah, correct. If you don't manage it, then you may have doing the same thing on both sides. Yani contractor A bring in and he end up his pipeline and he put a valve station and a control, and the other contractor B comes and does the same on the other side. We don't need two of them, we need one. And there's a lot of money in this. This valve station could be $100,000 easily. Okay, why did we waste that money? Yes, he's absolutely right.
Now I have something, it's not a question, هو غزل. حدا عم يتغزل فيك. So Mohammed Labid is saying Mr. Hammad and Saturn was focusing always on having a good spirit within the project team, especially during the phase period. Actually, I consider him one of the best managers I ever worked with. All the best, Mr. Hammad.
Thank you, Muhammad. I know Muhammad was one of our planning team, mashallah. I'm glad that he watched this and he reflects what we did on Saturn. Again, there's a lot of hard work, a lot of team, there are a lot of things that you have to put into it. Thank you.
What's beautiful is that the people you work with on projects, especially extended time, they become like family for all the years to come, and there becomes a bond, which is a very strong bond. Okay, yes. This is something only people who worked on projects successfully in a collaborative and positive environment will feel. Okay, which is something beautiful, stays for you your whole life.
Yeah, I still communicate with some of the team members that were with us, even though it's been 5-6 years now. We're still on WhatsApp able to exchange, and sometimes we meet some of them. Yes, I'm still meeting some of them. Shukran, ya Muhammad. Shukran.
So Nabil Ali, he's saying, of course, mismanaged interfaces between several contractors will increase the risk of unnecessary claims. Is this correct?
Yes, of course. And if a contractor A comes to a point and says, well, okay, I was asked to design the road with this thickness and at this level, and the contractor B comes with the wrong information and it doesn't match. Who's going to pay for the change? Well, so they're going to be put a claim because it's going to be an extensive change. If you do not decide or try to force a decision, it will become a claim for you. Or a schedule. Somebody saying, well, I'm finished my piece, and the other contractor is supposed to meet me here at this point, and he's a month or a week late. I'm being delayed. Okay? تأخير. واحد خلص والثاني ما خلص، ويجي يقول لك ليش ما خلصت في نفس الوقت؟ هذه أشياء حتتحول إلى كليم طبعا. ما فيها.
Okay. Now I was going to ask a question, but Hajar Ashur is part of the. She's saying
PMI-KSA chapter board member for members and volunteers. Glad to have you, Dr.
She's saying, what about PMI-KSA chapter community interfaces?
Yeah, community interface. Well, we need to change it into a project and manage the community, inshallah. But I think our local business community is doing a great job, alhamdulillah. As a chapter, we're progressing, we're signing a lot of MOUs with the local entities that will support the chapter. But of course, we need to do more and more. It's really...
What I really congratulate you at PMI-KSA, because the board during a short period of time was able to attract a lot of volunteers, and chapters are built on volunteerism, which is something quite healthy. So this is good.
والله كريدت للأستاذة هاجر والتيم اللي معاه هم اللي handling members and volunteers.
Now Ahmad Abdussalam, our partner in Tunisia, speaking next week, he's asking, how do you manage the integration relationships between the interface management, risk and contract management, mainly when defining liability boundaries having in mind that the contracts are usually drafted when the design is not mature enough to identify and define all interfaces.
And I can understand what it's referring to, but I don't understand really how I'll be able to answer it in this way. Without establishing a project interface plan, you need a project interface plan with the systems and tools I explained, and then a risk register as well. And one of your risks is this project interface, managing it properly. And then what are the liabilities which you have to go put into your contractual sections and say, okay, this is your interface responsibility. And then living it and applying it. It's day in, day out. You have to manage it. I don't know if Abdul Salam has a different understanding of it. I am a practitioner. I do not know how to put it all together in a pin book structure for you, but I'm just a project director who executed it.
The thing which people who do not operate usually, although Ahmad Salam worked a lot in the oil and gas, and you have conceptual, then you have feed, and some companies, which is the front end engineering, feed 1, 2, 3, then you have detailed design, and only after you have everything, you craft the contracts with the contractors, with the various vendors. So you should have the details there in the detailed design. Is my understanding clear?
No, doctor. I think draft contracts during the feed, that's where you started the front-end engineering too. And okay, if L1 is yes, you don't start drafting contracts, except maybe technology providers. If you have some technology, then yes, you need technology contracts at that stage. But once you go into the feed and you start, because that's really 30% of your engineering, then you know what you want. You know what sulfur system, what electrical system, what control system you want. And you start drafting contracts for them. So by the end of your feed, and of course all your EPC contracts, the big contracts, which is multi-billion dollar, you start drafting them during the feed. So by the time you finish the feed, you have a feed which is a bid package with a contract document, and you go out for bidding. And then the EPC will do the detail engineering. If you wait until end of detail engineering, you're just adding a lot of time, another year to the schedule, plus or minus. Did I answer the question?
Yes, so the risk is there that some interfaces will appear later on. So the issue, how do you pay for them? Because they were not defined in your contract.
Well, the general rule we have, and then we're done, there is going to always be a risk of changes within a project, and you apply a certain percentage into your budget, okay, 2 to 3%, مش 10 or 20, not 10 and 20%. You could allocate a reasonable 2 to 3% contingency, because not only interface changes, there are going to be scope changes, okay? The road needed to be wider. Unfortunately, now we're going to have to bring in bigger trucks, or let's make the road, or the electricity is changing, or the pressure has, there are going to be scope changes. So you need a certain budget, and that's normal. And I bet you any project without a change order budget allocation, change order allocation in the budget, it's going to have problems, because it's going to have changes. And this is what we've learned. We're going to be changing. That's what you are responsible as a project director, to make these decisions quickly, promptly enough, before they become plans. And المشكلة إنه when they stop making decisions timely, the problem gets bigger, because now it's schedule impact. It's not just the cost, it's now a schedule impact. And the million becomes 10 million in a month.
Now, again, a question from Mohammed Hammad. He's asking, can we have a webinar for how to participate in bidding and how to make a good proposal? I mean, techniques and strategies used to keep calculation of sorry?
What was it on bidding?
Yes, he was asking for something on bidding. I just want to tell him 2 weeks ago, we had a fascinating webinar on bidding, and some months back we even had the director of Shipley Limited, who are providers for proposal management since the 70s, also speak about proposal management. So if you like, you can visit the YouTube and you can attend them for free. So I believe most of the questions, okay, have been tackled, okay, maybe not all of them. I'd like to thank you, Muhammad. It's a pleasure, okay. ورجعت فتحت شهيتنا نشتغل مع بعض again.
إن شاء الله إن شاء الله more to come.
Inshallah. Would you like to say anything as a closing point to our audience?
Thank everybody for attending. Thank you, Dr. Saadi, for the invite. I'm glad to be able to share my knowledge, and please come and reach me on LinkedIn or through advisors if you have any questions. And please join us in PMI-KSA chapter. We are a young but vibrant chapter, and we want to grow. We want to share the knowledge. انضموا لنا اللي معانا, whether even if you're not in Saudi Arabia, انضموا لنا. احنا هنا نحاول ننشر ثقافة إدارة المشاريع والمعلومات, ونساعد الشباب والشابات في انهم يقدروا يتطوروا في مهنتهم.
I'm a member of PMI-KSA for years.
Yeah, I know. يعطيك العافية دكتور.
الله يعافيكم. Thank you. I'm very happy with this interesting webinar. Each week we are having a unique topic that is adding to our knowledge. I personally am learning a lot from leaders like you. Your presence enriched our knowledge and our participants. I like to thank all those who have attended with us tonight. And until next week, where we have lots of activities, almost every day or 2 or 3 days. Stay safe and see you next week, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you. Have a good evening.